Is it difficult for you to forgive a person who has mistreated you or abused you in some way? My name is Pastor Bill Payne here at First Methodist Church in Live Oak, Florida. Some years back, a brother of mine, a Christian brother, really insulted me and over a period of years really humiliated me and put me down. And it was very difficult for me to endure that. And I remember I internalized it and I became frustrated and I had anger. And the anger happened because that person would not make things right. Even when I confronted the person and showed the person how this person was misrepresenting me and hurting me, the person still never acknowledged that they had hurt me or done me wrong. They just continued to go on and ignore the injustice that I was enduring. Well, it affected my spirituality. It affected my mental health. It caused me stress. And I remember I went through a period of time that I lost a lot of weight because of that stress. Well, eventually God kept whispering to me that I had to forgive that brother. I didn't want to forgive that brother because that person was not making things right with me. Yet I had to try to move on with my life. And so God gave me the grace to be able in my heart to forgive that person. And when I did, God freed me from all those internal emotions that were at war with me. And I came out of that a better person. Oh, he still not made things right with me. But I've forgiven him in my heart and I've been able to move on. And I've been delivered from the bondage of hate and anger and unforgiveness. And I thank God for that. Jesus had a lot to say about forgiveness. For one thing, he says, if you go to the altar and you bring a gift with you, and you discover in your heart that you have a problem with a brother or a sister, something that you have not dealt with, and there's a break in a relationship, then you need to go and make things right with that person before you come and make your offering to God. You see, in the Bible, the life is a two-dimensional thing. On the horizontal, I need to live at peace with other people, especially if I've sinned against them. I need to seek their forgiveness. And then at the same time, as I'm making peace with others, I'm able to work the vertical by making peace with God. In the Lord's Prayer, Jesus tells us that as we forgive others, he will forgive us. It's a spiritual law. In Luke chapter 6, Jesus makes these statements. He says, I say to you, love your enemy, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, and pray for those who mistreat you, for those who insult you, for those who do bad against you. He wasn't speaking metaphorically here. He was speaking about a real practice. It's a spiritual discipline. We have to seek the good of those who hurt us. I'm reminded of Martin Luther King Jr. This is Black History Month. Martin Luther King Jr. was a prophet that God raised up to conscientize my country and my people, the American people, the Christian church, about the sin of racism. And he did it in a confrontational way at times, but he had to speak that word that God gave him. And we all know that it was a message from God. Well, during that period, as he tried to make people aware of how their racism hurt other people, he was abused, he was imprisoned, people spoke badly against him. And the whole time he spoke peace and forgiveness, and he refused to allow hate to control him. And he told his people not to let hate control them. He showed us the message that Jesus told us about loving our enemies, blessing those who curse us, doing good to those who mistreat us. He showed us that. And when he was assassinated and martyred, he went to heaven with a clean plate. There was no hate in his heart. Sister Geraldine was a Catholic nun, and she received a lot of sexual abuse. And she didn't say anything about it. And then finally it came out, and the person who had been abusing her was sentenced to jail. After all that abuse and all of her silence and all the violations she endured, she determined that she couldn't live with it anymore. So she went to the jail. She looked that man in the eye and she engaged him and she forgave him for all of her, for all of the crimes he committed against her. And she attempted to initiate the man in a relationship. And afterwards, she corresponded with him. She didn't do it simply to make herself feel free. She did it because forgiveness has reconciliation attached to it. We love our enemies because by means of loving that person, we are able to leverage influence in that person's life. We're able to be a witness to that person about Jesus Christ. If I'm hating someone, I can't tell them about Jesus. But when I love someone who's done a wrong against me, I now have standing in that person's life to tell that person about Jesus. Don't let hate and unforgiveness ruin your life. Don't let it percolate up. Forgive those who have sinned against you so that you can be forgiven and so that you can experience the joy of God in your life. I pray that you will find that peace today and that Jesus will give you his joy.